waiting room. I just want to welcome everyone to the exchange. My name is Cindy Voss. It's nice to see familiar faces and names for people that don't have their camera on. We're excited to host this event. We have over 50 people registered, which is very, very exciting. There's lots of material to cover, so I think I might just, just a little bit of housekeeping rules, which I know we're all probably used to now with the Zoom. It's great to see everybody has their mic on mute. That's wonderful. Catherine will be checking the chat line for their questions that are coming up. We will try to get to everything and everybody, so just have patience. I think that I will introduce Kelly Ray, and we'll just get things moving along. So again, welcome everybody, and thank you for jumping in on our Zoom session.
Hi guys, it's a great, beautiful day out there. I see no cameras on today. Everyone must be secretly out on their deck suntanning or something with their cameras off. So I've got a lot of material today planned, but this is going to be very much controlled by you guys. So as we go, if you think, we'd rather talk about this part more, or we'd like to talk more about how COVID's affecting marketing, just please share in the chat. Catherine is going to be looking at all of the questions in the comments and stuff, and make sure that she stops me, and we really make this about what you guys want it to be about. So the plan is that this is part 2 of marketing. Part 1 we did, I want to say, a month ago, and part 3 we'll do next month. So we've really, the 3 parts are really a way for us to look at the complete effective marketing plan for your business. So in the first call we covered, I'll actually share my screen right now so we can look at those slides. Yeah, so in the first session, we covered identifying your ideal clients. We talked about tracking your lead sources. We talked about conversion rate, because a lot of time, if you're getting a lot of leads, but you're not converting them all, there's a lot of money left on the table there. We talked about determining your ideal customer segments in terms of demographics and psychographics. And we talked about tracking your advertising marketing expenses. So this is the overview for today. There's a lot of stuff on here, and we also added topic number 1, how COVID changes marketing, because I knew that you guys would want to talk about that. So like I said, we'll stop frequently to do share and questions if you guys want to, and we'll really focus on the areas that you guys want to, because this is supposed to be about us all learning from each other. We've got a curriculum, but we also want to make sure that you guys share your questions, your successes, your challenges, and we all learn from each other and honor the purpose of the exchange. So quickly, we're going to talk about how COVID changes marketing, how your customers are finding you, the competitive environment that your business exists in, return on investment, cost per customer, cost per lead, conversion rate. These are my 4 favorite marketing calculations, so I'll just explain why they're important and how to do them. It's really, with those 4 together, you can determine whether your marketing money is being spent effectively. We'll also talk about average sales per customer, purchase frequency, customer retention, and your marketing budget. So if anyone wants our marketing plan template, it's just on tmhbusiness.com under free resources. You guys can download that anytime. And like I said, this part 1, 2, 3, they're designed to be able to be taught independent of each other, but they are all 3 will be basically taking the marketing plan, and we've put it into 3 pieces. So if you guys want to download that marketing plan, you go ahead. If you have any trouble, you can email office@tmhbusinesscoaching, and we'll get that to you as well. Now, Catherine, I'm assuming you're just going to interrupt me if people are chatting and I'm not seeing it. Is that right?
Yeah, I will interrupt. And then also, side note, nobody mentioned this, but we are recording this session. So just so people know that, I think we'll be able to offer this recording later as well as the slides. So if somebody wanted to look at it later. But yes, I will interrupt. There's no questions yet, but I will let you know.
Perfect.
Or raise your hand. I will watch the hand raising of people on the chat as well.
Okay, because I can only see you and 4 other people, so I won't see. Okay.
Okay.
All right, let's get going. So I know everyone wants to talk about this. I know that I didn't feel like this would be a complete presentation if we didn't talk about this. And I was trying to think of a word that was not unprecedented, because I think I've heard that so many times, but it really is an unprecedented time, and there is no roadmap. What I have really found, and it's very comforting, is the 3 pillars that we always teach: financial mastery, effective marketing and sales, and compelling leadership. Those still hold true. So even though we're in a pandemic, even though the rules have changed, if we apply what we know we need to do, it still works. So it's really, really awesome. And I encourage you guys just to know that even though the times are unprecedented, we have tools for this. So on this topic, one of the things that you may notice in your business is that suddenly you're not allowed to operate in the way that you used to, or you may even be closed, and you may need to brainstorm new revenue streams. So this is something that has taken up quite a bit of time on some of our other Zoom calls. We help each other brainstorm new ways to make money, because I know I see Andrea on here, and she owns a gymnastics club, right? And so they were shut down, gyms were shut down. And so that would be a good example of, we could brainstorm and try to help her come up with other ways to make income. We also had a lot of people start offering delivery services, which everybody needs, the contactless delivery and pickup, that sort of thing. So we can talk about that if anyone wants to. Just feel free to drop in the chat if you'd like to. Also, I wanted to talk about marketing your new products and services, but really calling them your new ways of serving. Really want to emphasize that. When we talk about marketing and sales have a reputation, I think, especially sales. People think like, oh, like I don't want to be salesy, or I hate when people treat me in a salesy way. And some people even think that marketing is evil. But my definition of marketing is authentically sharing who you are. So marketing to me is just communication, and selling is serving. So if anyone wants to talk about their new products or services or ways of serving and how they want to market those, please let us know, and we can all help you and brainstorm on that. But in general, I would say that you need to make sure, no matter what you come up with, I'm sure you guys all saw, I personally experienced this on one of the first days of COVID. I went on to Amazon to buy some antibacterial hand wipes, and I was like, this can't be right. It was 10 wipes for $99. And I was like showing my team, I was like, this can't be right, this can't be right. And then really it was. People were doing that. Amazon did shut it down eventually, but people were seeing an opportunity that was clearly not a win-win. It was just a win for them, and trying to exploit it. So that's not what I'm talking about when I say that you may need to find new ways of serving. The right opportunity is always win-win, because it does not work. It is not sustainable. It will ruin your reputation, especially with globalization and the way the internet is now. So if you think you've got a great idea, just make sure to test it with that. Is it a win for them and a win for me? Okay, still nothing, Catherine? Okay, I was expecting a lot more interruptions. I will just keep teaching. So empathy. I think that now more than ever, you guys may have experienced this, but for me, people I know really well, people that I don't know that well, I've experienced people being unkind, or being short, or being rude even, and just trying to have empathy for those people, whether they're potential clients or people who need your help. I found that being empathetic is really, really important right now, because the other alternative is usually to get angry back. And I just want you guys to remember that everyone out there is just scared. And I know that's no excuse for treating people badly, but if you come across people, especially online nowadays, it's pretty rampant, who are being mean or unkind or whatever, I just ask that you be empathetic and maybe hide their posts or unfollow them or whatever. And just try to remember that everyone's scared right now, and everyone's doing their best with the tools that they have. So connection. Connection. People are so lonely right now. And I thought it was just me until I started talking to other people. But having these Zoom meetings where we get to see each other and talk to each other, I get really excited for them because I never really get to see anyone except my husband and my dogs now. And so this is about as close as it gets to, really connecting with people. So now is an excellent time to have connection in your message, so talking about empathy in your message, talking about connection in your message, and also talking about your new ways of serving in your message. So I hope this is coming across clearly for you guys. When you're talking about your services or your products during COVID, you don't want to be salesy. You want to be very much about service, and you want to make sure that it's win-win. You want to be empathetic, so acknowledge people's, fear and challenge, and then try to create connection. So I've seen even a quilt shop actually doing virtual quilt circles. So, and the cool thing about that place is that their whole mission statement is about connection. And it's really winning right now. So it's a win-win because people want to be connected with, and then also you have the opportunity to talk to them about your products or services that you're offering. So then the other thing is right now, during COVID, email open rates have tripled. People spending time on Facebook, I can't even tell you the number, but it's way, way, way higher. And it's that way for everything online right now. So the other thing is people are much more willing to answer their phone right now, or respond to a text right now, or respond to an email. So if you haven't done your market research yet with your ideal clients and done that survey with them, now is a great time because you can connect with them, and also you can gather that information that you need, the market research that you need. No questions are okay. Well, it's sharing question time. So we'll wait 30 seconds, and if nobody wants to, we'll just keep going. I'm gonna go look at everybody here. Well, I can only, because I'm sharing my slides, I can only see a few people. I guess it was just really clear and helpful, and no one has any questions. Everyone just feels so, okay. Well, that's great. I'm gonna keep going. And at any point, you can stop us and we will discuss. Okay, so this is a spreadsheet that we use for tracking how customers find you. So this is very, very important, and it seems very simple, basic, but it is one of the most important data collecting activities that you should be doing in your business. So a lot of times we can do this electronically. So for example, for this meeting, Catherine probably has on their website, they can probably tell where you came from to get to that registration. So whether you clicked on a Facebook link, whether you clicked on an email link, whether you clicked on an Instagram link, whatever you clicked on to take you to the registration page, we hopefully have that electronic data. But there are still a lot of people coming into your business or calling your business, or even sending you a message on social media, and you don't really know, is that how they found out about you? So we still like to ask everybody, how did you hear about us? And where else have you seen or heard about us? And then we just keep track. So how many from Google? How many from Facebook? How many from TV? How many from the Yellow Pages? The Yellow Pages is a big one because Yellow Pages has their own reporting, and it often looks really, really, really great, like it's really, really working. And then when we start to track on our end, sometimes we see different numbers. So you want to make sure that you're asking, how did you find out about us, and where else have you seen or heard us? Because this is data that we need to use to make decisions later, right? We're going to need this data to decide how much we are paying per customer to get new customers, how much we're paying per lead to get leads. We're going to have to know this to see the conversion rate, because if we don't know how many leads came from Facebook, but we know we got 5 customers from Facebook, we don't know that only 50% of leads from Facebook converted. Also, return on investment. We want to know the people who came from that source, how much they spent with us versus how much we invested in that advertising and marketing activity. So this spreadsheet is really, this is where everything ends up. But what we usually use is just a blank, I wish we had that with us. Do we, Laura, the tick sheet? So it's just a piece of paper with sort of boxes for each source, and it just tells you, it just has a spot for you. It says for January, you know, just put a mark here if they heard about us from Google, and then a mark here if they've also seen us on Facebook. So it's just a manual tick sheet basically. And then you transfer that manual tracking into this spreadsheet. And is this spreadsheet available on our website? Awesome. So you can also have the spreadsheet from our website. And the coolest part that you can't see is a pie chart. I see two things in the chat. Oh, it's Laura. I was like, Catherine, come on. It's just Laura, sorry. I was so excited. Someone was actually connecting with me. So this spreadsheet is great, but when you download it off of our website, there's an even better part, which is the pie chart that gets automatically filled in. So if you're putting in your numbers for each month, it's going to calculate your year-to-date total and what % of all your leads came from each source. And then you have usually a nice, beautiful pie chart that has a major chunk of it coming from Google. And that is because 96% of people are Googling before they make purchase decisions. So if you're not getting Google reviews, you need to start now. Side note on that, Google is having some trouble functioning in all of these. It's trying to really serve people in huge ways. I'm sure you guys know with Google Classroom and stuff how much they're helping out right now, but some of their stuff is not working as well right now. So you can ask people to leave you Google reviews, and they can leave you Google reviews. They just might not show up for a little while, but they will show up later. Okay, so this is how we track how customers are finding us, okay? Now it says how customers are finding us, but we really wanna make sure we track every lead. So I would call this a lead tracking document. You probably in your software, you probably have, if you do a quote for somebody or a proposal for somebody or for sure an invoice for somebody, you have those people, but what people are often missing are just the leads. The people who heard about you, called in, and didn't turn into a quote or didn't turn into a proposal or didn't turn into a customer. And there's so much data there that I really want you to collect. So this should be every lead. Okay, so analyzing your competitive environment. Your competitive environment, just like, I'm just looking outside here, we're downtown, and we're pretty much the only people downtown for the last 4 or 5 weeks here. So when you look at any environment really, or any smaller piece of the environment right now, everything has changed. So it is a good time to analyze your competitive environment.
We have our first question.
From Gary. Okay, so in referring the sales funnel, how do you take the data to determine where it comes from? The bottom end tactics like Google, Facebook, social media, etc. get all the credit. However, mass media like radio never gets the credit for the work done earlier to bring your business awareness. Great, so that's why, Gary, I have that sheet, because the electronic tracking stuff, yeah, that does all show up, but I want to capture all of that. So that's why I say when you talk to people, you ask them, where did you first hear about us? And then where else have you seen or heard us? So a lot of the times, that's where radio will get the tick marks. And then Andrea, do you have a more intensive way to track each person? So to get more data about each person? Yes, so that would be in your CRM. So if somebody, you want to track the fact that they've inquired about a class, you've had communication with them, then you followed up with them, you can use, as very simple as you want, just a spreadsheet. Call it like your lead sheet, put the name, phone number, email, and then communication. Or you can use a CRM. So I always recommend that people start with a spreadsheet and they make it a really amazing spreadsheet before they decide which CRM to use. Because when you use just a spreadsheet and you build it out so that it works for you and you have everything, all the bits of information that you really want in there, then you're ready to have a CRM. Does that make sense? Yeah, and the important part is just tracking that, right? Like, so every time you talk to them, make sure you put a note in there. Good, okay. So analyzing your competitive environment, I just want to see what we have here. Yes, we do. Okay, so it's really important. This competitive environment analysis for me is sort of my anti-SWOT analysis, because in university with the SWOT analysis, I always kind of felt like I could BS my way through it. Like I felt like I could write whatever and come up with whatever answers I wanted by applying different models. So I wanted to come up with a way that was really spreadsheeted out, quantifiable, measurable, easy way to see where can we differentiate, where can we get a competitive advantage. So this is how we do it. So we really want to look at your competitors and make sure that if you're somebody who's saying, I don't have any competitors, be careful with that, because a competitor, in my opinion, is anyone who could take business away from you. Okay, so make sure you include them in your analysis. We want to identify strengths and weaknesses by comparing ourselves and our competitors on characteristics. And basically the whole point of this exercise is to discover our true and effective point of differentiation, or our unique selling point, or our competitive advantage. So a whole bunch of different terms, but what we want to figure out is what can we do that's really different, that really connects for our ideal customers. Like what's different about us that people love, and it's in line with our brand, it's in line with our mission, and it should get really redundant when you're doing it right, this marketing plan. You should feel like you're talking about the same things over and over again. Okay, just have to move the chat here. Okay, so conducting a competitive analysis. So I wanted to mention this, make sure, maybe quarterly or every 6 months, or even once a year, you could do a competitive analysis in normal times. But right now, I think we need to be doing a competitive analysis monthly, because some people, your competitors, some of them are going out of business right now. Some of them are just temporarily closed. Some of them are changing the services that they offer. And so it is a good idea to take a look around on the internet right now, but in the future, when things go back to a different type of normal, don't obsess over what your competitors are doing. It will never serve you. It will only hurt you. And any minute that you spend obsessing over your competition, like example that really comes to mind for me that a lot of clients have experienced is like, this competitor is copying my social media stuff. And I'm like, oh, I know that sucks so much. But in the grand scheme of things, any minute you spend being frustrated over that is a minute that you're not spending working on your business or working on attracting the right people. So normal times, check in, twice a year or every quarter at most. But right now, and if you're in any industry like the technology industry or the internet, things are changing so fast there with advertising and marketing, you want to check in more often. The goal here is to rate yourself and your competitors objectively. And I will show you. Yes, okay. So we want to have you and your competitors listed in the first column, okay? And then we want to pick, I've just picked characteristics that are important to, this is just an example from an old one that we did, but everybody probably, search engine optimization, SEO, is probably an important characteristic, right? Because 96% of people are searching online before making purchase decisions. So you want to pick characteristics that are important to your clients. So search engine optimization. Is pricing important to your clients? Probably. Facebook reviews. Google rating, number of Google reviews. And if your clients say that the best thing about you is your customer service, you want to use that too. And so fill the top row or the headings of the columns with characteristics that matter to your clients. And then for each column, we're going to come up with a rating system. So if we're talking about your Google rating, that's a very easy one to come up with, right? It's out of 5 stars. So if you have a 5 out of 5 stars, you get a 5. If your competitor has a 2.5 out of 5 stars, they get a 2.5. And I'm assuming this is making sense, so I'm going to keep going. So when you've got it all filled in, you've got everybody rated on each characteristic, you should see some areas where you're really great, and I made that green, and then some neutral areas where the numbers are pretty much in the middle, so that's orange, and then where people kind of suck, so that's the red. So the reason I did this was because this makes it very clear where you have opportunities for competitive advantage. That makes sense? It's not just a bunch of paragraphs about strengths and weaknesses and opportunities and threats, although that is very valuable, especially right now thinking about the threat that's out there, which is COVID. How can you create opportunities, you know, where a lot of your competitors may be sort of turtling or just closing up shop or just isolating and not really working on their business? What can you do to turn that into an opportunity? So this is in the marketing plan on the website, right? And just a reminder, guys, if you joined us late, if you want to download the marketing plan on tmhbusiness.com, it's just under free resources. Okay, do we have any questions about that? Does anyone want to share? Oh, I see chat. Hi, Yuki. Just one sec. I'll go back and look. Where is it? They would be like mid-level. So a 5 would be the best. How do you measure rate SEO? Okay, so what I would do for measuring and rating SEO is do the incognito on your computer and do a search and check a couple different computers. And then if you come up on the first page, you would say that's a good rating. If you don't come up on the first page, that's a less good. Does that make sense? There's also a lot of websites or online marketing people who can help you do SEO tests.
Did you see the question from Chris? How do you recommend focusing on weakness or strengths?
Yeah, I absolutely recommend working on the strengths if it's in line with what your ideal customers want. Does that make sense? So as you're going through your marketing plan, if you see, like, let's say there's 10 characteristics that are important to your ideal clients and you're really great at a few of them and you have opportunity to really get ahead in that area, like for example, Google reviews, if you could get way ahead in Google reviews and have a lot of happy customers on there and your competitors aren't even thinking about that, I would go hard on that. Does that make sense, Chris? Because if there's a weakness and it's going to take a lot of time to get better and other people are way ahead of you already and it's going to be work and it doesn't feel good, I don't think it is possibly your competitive advantage. So Vicky said, in the hospitality industry, I've been sharing my competitors' posts. Oh, that's so nice, as we are all in the same boat. Different hours and services, but if people are looking for food, we can help each other. That's awesome. So what, Vicky, do you want to share about what you're doing now versus what you were doing before COVID? Because we talked about that before you got on, I think, and nobody shared, but I would love to hear.
Sure, yeah, I was lunch hour, so I'm answering phone calls. Sorry, apologize for that. We pivoted, and I think now we're in the 4th pivot, so I should start an irrigation company. Just joking. What we're doing for the pub now, we have switched again so that we're open Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 11:30 to 6:30, so people can phone in and order. What we were finding is that really hard for people to decide on Monday what they want to eat for Friday or Saturday. Even myself, like I ordered from Barbu Catering on Wednesday and then realized that wasn't going to work, but it didn't matter. I'd ordered it. So we're still all working somehow, whether we're working from home or we're working in our offices. We still have a bit of a routine. So people still are wanting to order when they're hungry or when they really don't feel like cooking again or something like that. So we're trying to find out, and I guess I almost need to do a survey or do like a MailChimp or something to ask people. And that's what we kept doing. And on Thursday night, we said, okay, we can't do these meals because we just didn't have any orders. I put a Facebook out saying, okay, I think this is our last one to do this because we didn't know how many roasts to cook kind of thing. And then boom, people go, oh, I didn't see your post. So we have to make sure that we get outside that box. It's more than just the Facebook and the social media. So we've been trying to figure out and Gary, yeah, your medium, of course, we need to get onto some radio and tell people because we think we're reaching them, but we're not.
Do you have an email list, Vicky?
Yes, I do. But most of it's businesses that are closed because of course we didn't have their personal email, right? So we're doing the database again on those as well. but anybody that has called us or ordered, we go back to them and say, this is what we're doing.
Okay. Yeah. I think earlier when you said doing a survey would be a good idea, it's absolutely, I don't know, I think you joined us right after that part, but I was talking about how right now the people's response rate to phone calls, text messages, emails is a lot more positive than it used to be. So open rates are higher, survey response rates are higher. So SurveyMonkey I used to love too, but I know it kind of limits you. In Google Forms, if you have a Gmail account, it is awesome and it's free if you want to use that instead. Totally up to you. But yeah, I would absolutely be surveying people right now and using that data to help make your decisions.
Right, exactly. Because we even have like the Honkers Cafe at Pernich Auction is open from like 11 to 2, but it is like 5 minutes out of town. People are still only having like an hour lunch. So that's a little tough for people to go to. And then they're saying, well, what do we do for supper? Well, you can either pick it up and take it. But again, we just don't have the staff. We don't have enough bodies that want to work to extend any hours. But that's why I'm saying, if I see someone like Humpty's who has a full menu, or Barbara Catering, or all the other people, just keep sharing them, because everybody's not catching them all. And they're all trying to do different hours. And so I've been sharing because people look at me, think of food, I guess, maybe because, you know, but anyways, but if we can keep sharing what they're offering, it's all a little bit different because we all can't order or have full menus. So maybe a little bit of everything will go a long ways.
Yeah. And you know what? Organic reach on Facebook is still pretty low, even though there's tons of people on there compared to Facebook ads right now. I'm not usually a huge proponent of social media ads, believe it or not. But right now, the reach that you can get with a post on Facebook is insane. It's insanely cheap.
Okay.
So if you can't get enough data from your surveys, maybe you could do like a sponsored post on Facebook, like even throw $20 at it and see. I think the last time we checked, it was like $50 got someone 20,000 impressions. I'm not sure what the click-through rate was, but Lane Anderson has been talking about it's an unprecedented reach right now on Facebook, for example. But if you did, I've had a few clients do this. So you sponsor a post that basically offers somebody a $5 gift card if they do their survey. If they do the survey, and it could just be like 2 or 3 questions. You know, the post can link to like a Google form where it's like, what time of day are you looking to pick up food, you know, or what food do you want available, or whatever you want to ask. That can be really helpful. Or if you're just trying to get your information out there, and you say like posting about the roast and people didn't see it, maybe putting some money behind that and see if that works, because a lot more people are on there right now, and I know that you're getting a lot more impressions per cent right now.
If there's any businesses out of there that I can help promote, because they are coming to my business to do pickups and they want to promote their business, even we're not related to at all in business, I'd be glad to help and do something that we can do a combination of businesses together. And if they come to do a pickup or curbside pickup at Honkers, I'd be glad to share their product or their sample or anything, just because if they're coming, I can at least get that information out to them.
That's awesome, Vicki. Thank you. And everybody, you can connect with Vicki on Facebook, LinkedIn, just Google Honkers. That's really great, Vicki. This is a really good example of the best of what's happening right now, guys. I think it's really cool. Thank you, Vicki. Nicole, so organic reach, is organic solo people? I don't understand the first question, Nicole, but I'll answer the second one and hopefully it answers both. Organic reach is always low the last few years on Facebook. You know, in 2012, Facebook was like a dream for business because you posted and people saw it. It was like free advertising. You know, people followed your page and you could just talk to them all. But over the years, as Facebook and rightfully so, wanted to make money, they started charging for you to show up in people's news feeds. So your organic reach the past few years has just always been getting whittled away. So when you post on your page or you post on your personal page, if people aren't really interested in it, if people aren't clicking on it a lot, or if people aren't purposely choosing to follow it, they're not going to see it. I think the last statistic I saw was like maximum 25% of the people on your page will see your posts. but it's higher than it usually is because more people are on Facebook. Does that make sense? Thank you. Did I get both questions answered? Okay, thanks. Okay, perfect. Okay, I'm just gonna close this. So I want to talk about some numbers that when you calculate them, they give you some really good power to decide what is and is not a good use of your marketing money. So just remember that if you're not tracking the leads in that sheet and your clients, where they came from, where they heard about you and where else they heard about you, these will become impossible to measure. And these are very important to measure. So you want to make sure that you get that foundational data collection down. So I talk about data-driven decisions a lot. I think it annoys a lot of my clients, but it is so much smarter than just, you know, flinging something out there and seeing if it sticks. So measuring stuff gives you great data, and using data to make data-driven decisions makes you more profitable. It helps you waste less money on marketing, makes you just more effective. Okay, so one thing that I think a lot of people forget to think about, so I just wanted to mention it quick, is lifetime value of a customer. So I was working with a client yesterday, and they were talking about how one of their competitors had the market cornered on senior citizens, like cornered. And the senior citizens that they had talked to had basically said, we're loyal to this business, we'll never switch. And my client was like, how do we do a marketing campaign to get these people away from this business? And I'm like, don't. Your younger crowd, you've got a bunch of people who are in their 30s, their customer lifetime value, how much they're going to spend over the rest of their life with you as a customer is going to be a lot greater than some of those other customers anyways. Plus, that younger demographic that you've got is more in line with your brand. They're more interested in the products that you have, and your competitive advantage really lands for them. So that example is very, very obvious just because we're talking about an older crowd who will have less years to spend money. But this formula can change depending on what kind of business you have, right? So Vicky, for example, could feed someone for the rest of their life. They could be, if you're talking about your average customer, they could be a customer forever. But you also might have a business where you provide somebody with something and then that's it, you know, or you provide service for 6 months and that's it. So you want to keep both those things in mind when you're calculating that. Gross profit. So this might look a little bit overwhelming, but I'm going to make sure that we get it clear before I move on. And for those of you who totally understand gross profit, I'm really sorry that you have to sit through this. But I know that we've got all levels of understanding on the call, so I want to make sure this is really clear, because this is one of the biggest levers in business that I see absolutely turn businesses around. So people come in and they tell me, well, we're spending all this money on marketing, we're really busy, you know, we're so busy we have to hire more people, but there's no money in the bank. And this is almost always the culprit. Gross profit on your different types of products and services needs to be calculated. So gross profit just means the amount that you sell, so the income from what you're selling, minus the cost it took to make the product. So in Vicky's case, I would say it's not only the cost of the food, but the cost of the person cooking the food. So if you're going to charge $20 for a meal and your labor and food costs are $10, then your gross profit is $10. $20 minus $10 cost equals $10. So if you have $10 of gross profit left from a $20 meal, that's 50% gross profit. In your financial projections, when you look at the year ahead or you look at the month ahead, which we're doing more often right now, and you look at your total sales, let's say you do 100,000 in sales in a month. If all of your sales were 50% gross profit margin, and you only kept $50,000 of gross profit, and then you had to pay all of your overhead expenses, including, let's say, payroll, an office lease, internet, all the things you usually have to pay for, would you have enough money left over at the end of the month? If yes, okay, 50% gross profit is okay, and you can start pricing things appropriately. But what I usually find is people come in and they've got, let's say, 5 different products or services, and we'll just call them product A, B, C, D, E, and they're just they're not really calculating gross profit at all. They're just doing their best to sell everything, right? They're doing their best. And sometimes they're promoting the lowest profit items without even knowing it. So you might be spending money and time saying, come buy product A, and 80% of your sales might be coming from product A, but it's actually not a very profitable product. And when we stop or shrink the sales of that product or raise the price on that product, your overall gross profit goes up. So even if you've got 3 different products, calculate the gross profit on them and either promote the most profitable one or raise the prices on the ones that are not profitable enough, or find a way to reduce the costs on them. This is absolutely bottom line changing. And it seems simple when you think about it, but I can tell you almost probably every business who's ever come and sat in this office and told me they don't have enough profit, this was the problem, or at least a big part of the problem. So you want to calculate that gross profit on your different things that you're selling. And if it's not high enough, make it higher or stop selling it. Hope that makes sense. Okay, return on investment. So this is a pretty basic one. And there are a couple different ways of calculating it, but the easiest way is to just look at what you paid versus the sales that you got from it. Does that make sense? You can also calculate it, on your profit versus what you spent. So if you did a bunch of sales on something that was 50% profit margin, you would take that 50% and compare it to what you spent. Pretty straightforward 1A. Okay. Cost per customer. So remember when I'm talking about these 4 numbers that I want you to use them together. If you just use one of them, it can be really misleading, okay? So if your cost per customer is low, that's good, right? So if we spend $100 and we get 5 new customers, that costs us $20 per customer. Does that make sense? Now, if you're selling something like meals, like Vicky, and your customer lifetime value is in the $100,000 range because for the rest of their life, they're going to be eating there 3 times a week, then I would say paying $20 for a new customer is not bad. But if you're selling something that's like a one-time sale usually, and it costs you close to $20, and that's a terrible cost per customer. You want to be getting your cost per customer way down. Okay? And then cost per lead is the same calculation, but we're just doing it with leads. So back to that spreadsheet where we recorded how people heard about us. We just take the number of leads from there for, let's say, Facebook, and the amount we spent on Facebook, and we divide it by the number of leads. So again, if you're selling a product that has a customer lifetime value of in the thousands, and you're paying $10 a lead, that's probably okay with you. But if you're selling smaller things that are closer to that cost, you want to drive that cost of the lead down. Sorry, I see that there's a question. I just can't. Great question, Andrea. Thank you. So do you average that across the mediums? So no, I'm going to take you to a chart really quick here. If you do average it across the mediums, it's kind of like where you just lump all your gross profit together and you don't take the time to separate the things out and have those aha moments. So this is also in the marketing plan template, which you can download from the free resources tab on tmhbusiness.com, but we calculate it separately for each type, okay? So because then we can see for Instagram, what was our return on investment, what was our cost per customer, what was our cost per lead, and what was our conversion rate? Because a lot of times, let's say, I think I see this the most with Facebook ads. So you might get a ton of leads from Facebook, but the conversion rate might be really low. So if you're paying 10 cents per lead on Facebook, you're like, sweet, that's working really well. Is it? Look at the conversion rate. Look at the cost per customer. Look at the return on investment. Okay? And you look at that separately for each medium. Make sense? Oh, that was such a perfect segue. Conversion rate. So this is pretty simple, but you definitely want to make sure that you're tracking leads to be able to calculate this. So like I said earlier, most of us have our customers in our various different softwares. Most of us will have the people we did quotes for or proposals for, but a lot of us are not tracking those leads. And if we're not tracking the leads, then we can't calculate the percentage of leads that turn into customers. And that is really important to track for the different mediums in that chart that I showed you guys. So even if you have a really low cost per lead on Facebook, you might have a very low conversion rate, and that's still a waste of time or money, right? So I always, before people spend more money on marketing or advertising, I always help them increase their conversion rate. Because if you are just pouring more water into a leaky bucket, it's a big waste of money, right? So if your conversion rate is low and you're advertising to try and get more leads, but you're only converting a very low percentage of them, that's not a good use of your time or your money. But if you can work on your conversion rate, and on part 3 of the marketing that we'll do next month, we're going to talk a lot about the customer path and the processes in it. If you can convert more leads into customers, then yes, pour on the advertising. You know, do the things that work to bring more leads in, because we're more likely to convert them. So if you're converting 80 to 90% of your leads, great, yes, drum up more leads. But if you're converting like 10%, 15, 20% of your leads, 80% of those leads are not converting. Is it a problem with the message that you're putting out? Are you being inauthentic in your marketing? Are you not accurately presenting, you know, who you are and what you have to offer? Are you not connecting with the right people? Or does your sales process just suck? You know, that's a problem some of the time. Sometimes we have receptionists in a role that should be a salesperson's role. So we get 100 leads a month, which we don't even know about because our receptionist, I'm thinking about a doctor's office right now. This is a good example. If I didn't love my doctor so much, I would not be going to this clinic. So the person answering the phone, who's often like an administrative role, who could be unhappy in their job, who has no sales training, and is not tracking marketing metrics, and is certainly not being performance-based paid on the conversion rate, is the person in control of your conversion. So you really want to look at that. If you're getting 100 phone calls a month and you're not tracking that on that lead sheet, and you're not tracking how many convert into actual customers, there's probably a lot of money on the table. I think this is one of the most important things that we teach, because there's so much money left out there. And it's frustrating for people who sell advertising to get you a bunch of leads and then have you tell them it didn't work. Well, the leads came, but you didn't convert them properly. You know, you didn't walk them through the sales process correctly. So I can't say enough, tracking this conversion rate and tracking it differently for the different types of spends, it's really, really important. And remember, you also want to track return on investment, cost per customer, and cost per lead. You don't want to split these up. Andrea wins cutest, most cuteness in one little square on Zoom today, by the way. Dog and a cute kid, you win. Average sales per customer. Okay, so we just want to look at, you know, in a month, if you have $1,000, that's very low. Maybe we did this for easy math for me. Sometimes when I'm on the spot, I can't do math. If you have $1,000 and you had 50 customers, their average sale per customer is $20. And you really want to work on driving that up. It can be, you know, something as simple as adding something at checkout if you're doing online sales, you know, adding an offer at checkout, or it can be in the physical store if you're allowed to operate with within the guidelines, you know, having things in their line of sight, or simply having it as part of your procedure where you can offer more things. It can also be the sales process right from the beginning, the questions you ask them. How can you serve them better? How can you help them more? But tracking your average sale per customer can be really eye-opening as well, because if you're doing $1,000 in sales with 1,000 customers, that's a lot more work than doing $1,000 in sales with 10 customers. So you really want to get that average sale per customer up. So you can't manage it until you measure it, like Peter Drucker says, right? So track this, calculate it, and then work on it. And all these things you can assign to somebody as a KPI or as a goal. So if you find these numbers in your business, you're like, oh, this is not good. Give that person at the front desk a goal, you know, like, hey, I want you to improve this number with me this month. purchase frequency. So you know what is just how many times on average each customer purchases from you. So the easiest way to make more revenue or increase your income is always, always, always to sell more to existing customers. So if you can raise your prices, or you can have your customers purchase more often, or you can increase your average sale, then you increase your revenue. And that's the easiest way, because these people already know you, they've already bought from you, they already understand your brand, they already understand what you have to offer. So this is another number that you want to increase. How to increase purchase frequency? More communication. And I should have mentioned this by now with the conversion rate piece, but follow-up is so important and underutilized in every business that I look at. Follow-up, there's like, I believe 84% of sales are done between the 8th and 12th, or 5th and 12th follow-up. 84%. And most of us have no follow-up procedure. And we're going to talk about that in part 3 in the customer path presentation. But if you just have contact with somebody once or twice and you never follow up 5 to 12 times, there's a good chance that there's a lot of money being left on the table. So email lists, keeping in touch with them in their preferred way of communication, just letting them know about your other offers. These are all ways to increase purchase frequency. You see oh, it went away. Is there a question, Catherine? I can't see it for some reason.
There's one from Andrea. Would you ever suggest using referral incentives for current customers?
Yeah, I love that question. So in most businesses, I say no to this because I feel like it's really important to be authentic when you send referrals. Like if I'm referring, like Chris Broughton, for examples on the call, I believe from Upsourced HR, and I've sent people to him because he has done a great job for my other clients, because when I've asked him in the past, he's been super responsive, great customer service, correct answers, you know, really helpful. So I send people to him, not because I want, you know, a Tim Hortons gift card, but because I really believe in him. And so I always use the example when I get the referral question of a friend of mine who tried to get me for months to come to this yoga place with her because she was convinced it was going to fix my back. I've had a bulging disc in my back for about 6 years now. And she's convinced this yoga place is going to fix it for me. And so I finally said that I would go. But then when I signed up for the class, I found out that she got like a month free or something for me coming. And I was like, I'm not going. Like, I felt I hated it. I hated that feeling. Like, I was like, did she do that because she really wanted it to help my back? Or did she just do it because she wanted a month free? So for me, sometimes referral incentives can cheapen your brand in that way. But I have to say, I am not all of your ideal customers. You know, I am a very specific person with a specific age, with specific shopping preferences. So for some of you, I might be your ideal customer and my opinion might matter. But for some of you, I'm not. Like Andrea, I don't have any kids, right? So people with kids who could come to gymnastics and who, I'm not sure what your other ideal client characteristics are, but you only want to survey the clients who matter. So if I don't think that you should have a referral incentive, but your ideal clients think it's a great idea and they would happily do it, they would happily be referred by it, you know, you can also survey your ideal prospective clients. But yeah, so what I'm trying to say is I'm not a fan of it. It's always a great idea to send a handwritten thank you card. And if you want to include a gift with that, when somebody sends you a great referral, you can do that, you know, like, thank you so much. We really appreciated that. But I'm not a huge fan of setting up the refer 10 people and you get $100 off. But that's just me. So again, got to do your research there. Were there some other questions, Catherine?
There isn't, but I have a question. I wrote it out. Here, I'll send it just so people can see it. But mine, when you were talking about data-driven decisions, I'm curious if there's anybody on this call who changed their original plan due to information they received or data they received that wasn't in their original foreseen plan. I would love someone to even, you know, raise your hand, turn on your camera, tell us, but I'm sure there's lots of people who have completely changed their plan due to data they received.
I'll just answer this one if nobody else does. If somebody else starts talking, I'll stop. For the first few years, I was so convinced because I grew up without money. So I heard all the time, you know, we can't afford that, we can't afford that. And then I got into management at a really young age and I was tasked with running somebody's business and making it more profitable. And then I would get bonus paid on their profit. So I became very, very good at finding profit. So for me, I thought everybody wanted more profit. So in the beginning, that's all I talked about with my business. I'm like, you want more profit? Come here. More profit, more profit, more profit. That's all we're talking about, right? And then after we did some research with our ideal clients, we found out that all of them appreciated the accountability the most. So yes, it's nice that the business is systemized. Yes, it's nice that there's more profit. But what they really, really cared about was the accountability piece. So we needed to start talking about that more. Was that kind of what you're asking?
Yeah, I was just curious. I'd love to hear people's stories. So,
Well, I'll jump in quick, just to back up the importance of data. Data is so important. And that's why sometimes I know we drive you guys crazy with some of the surveys that we send out, but data really gears even policy and how we look at things and how we talk to different levels of government. That data makes it so you can't argue with data. So it's so important to track it, to trend it, and it takes you down very, very interesting paths. And the one thing I love about one of the surveys that we just did, and we were very fortunate to have over 250 people reply. It's interesting, and that one of the main things right now that businesses are looking for is that marketing piece. So it's so exciting that we have this set up because Kelly Ray is doing such an amazing job on showing the importance of marketing. So I think it really opens up that window of collecting that data, looking at how you're going to do that marketing, because that's really an essential need moving forward. And we're hearing that clearly from our data collection. So I can't thank you enough for talking about data. Makes me happy.
Thank you. And I think we'll let Andrea share too, but I want to say one quick thing on data. Make sure the person in charge of tracking your data knows how important it is. It is so, so, so important. You know the saying, garbage in, garbage out? If they're not tracking it properly, it's like with your profit and loss statements in your bookkeeping or with your lead tracking at your front desk. Like if that's not accurate, it's useless. So make sure that person understands how important it is that they put it in correctly and that they track it for every call or every inquiry. Andrew, you want to talk about what you learned and how you changed your billing?
Yeah, so we most clubs do sessions, so that's usually anywhere from 8 to 12-week sessions, and we started out doing that just because that's what's typically done. And of course I start talking and I'm parent with a kid tapping on my shoulder. And what ended up happening is we would get questions from folks that would say, oh, well, we really want to register, but I don't know if I can commit to 12 weeks, like we have hockey or we have soccer starting. And so what we ended up doing in January is we started doing monthly, and we give incentives. If people want to commit to 6 months, then they can commit to 6 months, and we offer a bit of a discount if they want to do that. But then people can commit for 8 weeks if they want to. People can commit to 12 weeks if they want to. Or, we had a family whose mom had a baby. They came back after 2 months so that they could have that family time while they transitioned into a bigger family. So that was one thing that just we heard. Lethbridge is a big hockey community. We heard from lots of people that they want to do gymnastics, but having a session doesn't always fit around their other sports. So we just took the initiative to say, all right, if you want to know that you have gymnastics on Tuesday for the whole year, then you can commit to that, or you can commit to 2 months if you want to.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a great example. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to move on to retention rate if there's no more. Catherine, I used to have the orange light up thing happening for me, and it didn't for the last couple, so you'll just have to make sure you interrupt me if something comes up. Okay, thanks. So retention rate is also another number that people aren't tracking that could be like another hole in the bucket. So the last thing you want to do is be paying for new leads, converting them into new customers, and then never retaining them. So you want to make sure, and in the next session next month, when we talk about all the procedures in your customer path, we're going to talk about retaining customers and keeping them happy and keeping them coming back for more. But to measure your retention rate, you have to decide on what the appropriate period is for you. Like if, Andrea, like if your customers would usually come back, you know, every fall, then you would probably want to look at, in the last year, how many customers did you have at the beginning? And then how many do you have left at the end? And so if you have 80 out of 100 customers left at the end of the period, you retained 80% of them. Does that make sense? Because if we do all this work with marketing and then we do all the work to convert the leads into customers, and then we do a really good job with our customers, but we don't ever think about keeping them, that's just a huge waste, because it's so much easier to keep selling more to existing clients than it is to go get a new client. So to retain them, you want to obviously keep them happy. You can survey them, make sure that you're using their feedback to keep things relevant to them. You can offer new products or services sometimes that people want from you, because a lot of times, especially right now, we see opportunity for you to serve in a different way, serve the same people in a different way. But I would say probably the most powerful way to keep your retention up is to do surveys. Make sure you find out, if you're only going to ask one question, ask this question. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being extremely likely and 1 being not likely at all, how likely are you to recommend us to your friends and family? And then the second question is, why did you choose that number? So that's the question that they use in the Net Promoter Score. And I found it to be the best question because that number is really, really, really important to your business. Because although I told you earlier, I'm not a huge fan of referral programs, and remember, that's just my opinion. Your ideal clients might disagree. There is still a large part of everyone's business coming from what other people say about you, right? So if they give you an 8 out of 10, that means they're 8 out of 10 happy enough to recommend you to their friends and family. So it answers quite a few different questions for you at the same time. And then when you ask them to tell you, why did you choose that number? Then you get the details, or then you get the, well, it's because of the customer service, or the lady who answered the phone, or, you know, your online store didn't work for me, or whatever it is. Keep moving here. So I know we have about 10 more minutes, but does anyone have any questions or want to share about that? Does anyone else have some examples of what they do to retain customers? Or maybe what they're going to start doing to retain customers? Or even a question about, how can I retain more customers? Okay. This slide is what we clicked to earlier when Andrew was asking, the greatest question ever. Do we average it across all mediums? I would ask that you don't. You know, you could, if you're interested to know and yeah, that is probably a really good number to know. Out of all the leads you got in the month, what % converted? So yeah, having that total conversion rate, great. But inside that, or on top of that, we want to make sure we break it down per lead source, because we want to measure the effectiveness of radio, of TV, of Instagram, of existing client referrals, of Facebook, of Google reviews. You know, I find so many people coming from seeing businesses' good Google reviews, and the truth is, all that costs you is the time it took you to ask for a Google review. So that usually is a really, really effective way. I think I put too many share slides in here. So marketing budget. So everyone always asks, how much should I spend on marketing? And, oh. Yeah, I love that. Thank you, and we miss you cards to all of your clients. Yeah, that's really great. I love that. It's connecting, it's keeping in touch, it's keeping you top of mind. That's a really good point. So you were thinking about that when I was talking about ways to retain people, right, Andrea? Yeah, great, thank you. With your marketing budget, my goal is always to get your marketing budget as close to 0 as possible, if I can. So my goal would be to have your customers so delighted with the experience that they keep coming back and refer new people to you. And my other goal would be for you to have so many great Google reviews that when people are searching online, and remember 96% of people are searching online before making purchase decisions, they find you and they find your good Google reviews. But if I had to give you a percentage or a ballpark, I always tell people never spend more than 5% of your revenue on marketing. But like I said, closer to zero, the better, right? So all these things we talked about today, converting more, driving down your cost per lead, driving down your cost per customer, all those things will help you spend less on marketing because your marketing will be more effective. And don't forget that second piece. You can have great marketing. Like you can have the greatest ad out there ever and it can drive a bunch of people to you. But if the person answering your phone is not converting people, there's no sense pouring more into a leaky bucket, right? You want to work on that part first. Does anybody have questions about marketing budget? I know this is a lot of information in a short period of time. So if you guys do have questions later, you can contact us too. Oops. Oh, yeah, way too many share slides. Sorry, guys. We were trying to make it way more interactive for you this time. So I just put a few too many of these in. So I wanted to also talk to you about what we're going to be doing in the session next month. We're going to talk about the customer experience process. We're going to talk about the rest of your marketing plan, the importance of a real strong mission statement, vision statement, culture statements. We're going to talk about the processes for converting leads, so how you turn those leads into customers. We'll talk about reviews, feedback, and referrals. We'll talk about hitting your revenue goals. Not wasting your money, so making sure that your marketing is really effective, and then retail survival strategy. So I want to talk a lot about how online shopping is affecting a lot of our businesses, especially right now. It's going to be really pertinent. So that's just kind of what we're going to cover in session 3, just so you guys kind of have an idea. Well, that'll be next month. And that's it. That's all my slides. So I have a slide at the end of my presentation, and I want you guys to copy this. You can totally take this and steal it. This works really, really well. All my clients do this. So if you have like a happy customer, I would send this in an email. It works the best. So we're just saying if you enjoyed today's session and you want to give TMH Business Coaching a Google review, that would be awesome. You always want to ask people to leave comments because the SEO bots, when they're searching through the internet, they don't count the 5-star reviews that don't have comments. They count the ones with comments. So the way that we like to word this when we're asking people for reviews, we say, if you think we deserve a 5-star Google review, please click here and leave your comments. If you think we deserve anything less than 5 stars, please email us, or please reply to this email, or please call us and let us know how we can improve. And just be very, very intentional and authentic about, we want your feedback, but give them those 2 avenues, right? And make sure people are happy before you send this to them, because the last thing you want to do is send them the link and have them leave you a terrible, scathing review, right? I haven't had that happen yet using this system. See a question. Thanks, Jackie. Yeah, so this wording works really, really well. So you can take, it, make it your own. You're welcome, Becky. Thank you. Yeah, take it, make it your own. Say, if you want to leave us a 5-star review as comments, that'd be awesome. But if you think we deserve less than 5 stars, please email us, because we really want to be better for you, you know? And so then people hopefully will email you and say, I wouldn't give you a 5-star review because of your receptionist. Sorry, I'm really stuck on the doctor receptionist today. But if they were happy, they'd be like, sure, I'll click this link. One thing I want to add to this is the follow-up thing we talked about. 84% of sales are done between the 5th and 12th follow-up. So this rule should be applied with Google reviews. We very nicely ask people every month until they leave us one. We'll ask them up to 12 times. And with my clients, a lot of the clients that I end up working with, I talk to them like 25, 30 times before they become a client. I've seen the same pattern with Google reviews. So a lot of my clients are like, well, I asked everyone and nobody left one. And it's like, okay, but you have to remind people, you know, so maybe send a text with this message with the link, or send an email with the link, or let them know, like on the phone or in person, I'm going to be sending this, and then send the link. But as long as you're being, you know, very gracious and professional and on brand, follow up to ask for Google reviews, because they're so valuable. Okay. Yeah, we got 3 minutes left. So If anyone would like to ask any questions or share anything, that would be awesome. You can also, if you want to remain anonymous, you can privately send me a message on here, and I can just say we have an anonymous question if anyone wants to do that. You are welcome. Thank you for the thank yous. Thanks, guys. Okay, I think we're done. I hope that served you, and I hope to see you guys next month on the next one.
I just want to say a quick thank you to Kelly Ray. This has been fantastic. There's lots of wonderful gold nuggets coming out of today's session. And, you know, it's always interesting and it's great to see so much wonderful participation. So we will keep going with this. Thank you again for the questions that we did receive. And as always, any and all feedback is great so we can make it even better for next time. But thank you again. This has been wonderful, and I think it gives us all lots to think about and work on in our business.
Thanks, guys.
Enjoy your day.
Yeah, have a great day.
Thank you, everyone.
Take care.